Happy Thursday evening, everybody, and welcome into a pre-game Lions Grid episode. Joined as always by my co-host here, Jeffrey Raymond. Jeffrey, how are you doing on this Thursday night?
Doing good in the throes of winter now. Got lots of snow my way down here. I live in southwestern Michigan. So yeah, we're there in the Midwest weather because next week it's going to be like 58 degrees. So
yeah. It's so they also keep, like, I'm sure these terms have existed beforehand, but like I feel like they've just gotten more they've opened up like the weather alerts that they provide, because like a couple years ago, like a polar vortex, I'd never heard of it until we had the polar vortex, and then a new term that I heard just this week was a snow squall. Never heard of a snow squall before. We had a warning for that come through here. So as far as I could tell, what it equaled was that it was just some snow with a shit ton of wind, and it was kind of shitty outside. So
squall. Yeah, it's I've only heard of that in the context of like out on the seas, like
exactly.
Sudden,
So it apparently when it happens in the snow, it just means that
I
snow's
guess
going to be whipping
water.
around.
It's just more solid water getting thrown around instead of liquid water.
But thankfully, despite the weather that we're having here in Michigan, Jeffrey, the Lions, of course, they're at home.
Right? Yeah.
Yep, they're at home tonight, hosting the Green Bay Packers. So the weather isn't going to be too much of conditions because they're inside. It's nice. They got the dome. All is good inside the dome. Dome is home. And thankfully, we got that win against the Packers at Lambeau earlier in the season, Jeffrey. So we didn't have to make one of these winter trips out there because, you saw how. Thankfully, we're not the Dolphins. I think we're a little bit tougher, so we're not playing in 70.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about
all the time, but
to Green Bay in the playoffs, I wouldn't worry about us.
Jared Goff is known for struggling a little bit there in the weather, Jeffrey. Although he did fine there, but of course it wasn't as cold earlier this year. So
I'm trying to exude confidence on the offense because that's going to be our ticket to victory.
Well, yeah, it's we can do it. As we sort of talked about on Tuesday, Jeffrey. Of course, one of the issues that we're facing here with the Lions is just the mounting injuries on the defensive side of the ball, which of course is why you're sort of counting on the offense there for us. There's kind of two stories with the injuries, right? There are all the guys that have been added to IR, which includes a lot of our starters on defense. But then even just this game, there are a few guys that aren't out for the season, but DJ Reader's out for this game with a shoulder injury. Levi Onwuzurike is out with a hamstring. Josh Pascal's out for a knee, and they'll be back, but they're going to be out in this game. So that defensive line in particular, and of course the linebacking core, our front seven has been decimated by injuries is really the takeaway there, Jeffrey. And I think there is one of the challenges that we're going to have in this game is, of course, one of the big acquisitions for the Packers this offseason, bringing in Josh Jacobs from the Oakland Raiders, and he has been having himself a solid year for them.
Yeah, he has.
Could be some opportunities with just all of the attrition we've had in our front seven for this Packers team to be successful running the ball here at Ford Field.
Yeah, he's been absolutely rolling. He's kind of I think that he had that lower body injury and when he was with the Raiders. So I feel like his last year there, his contract year there, wasn't necessarily representative of what he's like at his full power, but good on Green Bay for picking him in. He's running hard. He broke 127 yards against the Jacksonville. Obviously Jacksonville's not so great, but he has he ran 95 against us. Didn't break that 100 mark though. That we kind of I don't know if we can do that tonight.
I don't think we have a fraction of the players out there on the field today that held him to 95 last week.
That's my area of concern. The injuries, obviously, I think at some point you need to have bodies out there with talent. And if we're into our third strings, signing Jamal Adams off the street, I don't know. That just doesn't exude a lot of confidence.
It's going to be interesting because I think, and of course, my dad here with us here mentioning that, Deku, of course, is making a cameo here. He is the bastard gray cat mentioned there in the YouTube chat. But you know, he's predicting a Packers win tonight, and this was one of the first nights here recently that I've seen in the pick'em with the sort of national media be split a little bit. Lately, it feels like it's been everybody going with the Lions in these matchups. Of course, the Packers too are a higher quality team than we've seen in recent weeks. The Packers are 9-3, so they're very much in the NFC playoff picture at the moment. So it's partially a nod to the caliber of the opponent we're facing, but also, as we've been talking about, just the injuries that we have on the defensive side of things. And it's going to be interesting to see, Jeffrey, are we going to be more of a San Francisco 49ers team that feels like the injuries there have just sabotaged their season? They've submarined and are just headed towards the bottom, and they seem to be full tilt towards missing the playoffs this season. Or are we going to be more of a Thanos type thing where we're just inevitable and nobody is going to stop our arrival to our first ever Super Bowl? It's, as mentioned, it's kind of hard to tell at this point where that Jenga block is, where that point of failure is going to come for this Lions team. But I think we have a really good test here on Thursday night to see what sort of. I mean, if they get a win here and extend this win streak to 11 games, getting a win over this 9-3 Packers team with all of the injuries, it's pretty remarkable that.
Yeah, it would be. It would be.
Feels
incredible.
like we are at that Thanos stage, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, if it can happen, I have some doubts here. Actually,
Absolutely.
It's a. I think this game actually will absolutely break open the NFC too if the Packers win. I mean, we would have 2 losses along with Philadelphia. Minnesota's still on the heels too. The Packers then would have their double-digit wins, so it's some serious kind of implications here.
Yeah, it could get very spicy very quickly with a loss here, and unfortunately, I think the Lions are going to get a little bit healthier as we get closer to the playoffs. But like, there are definitely plenty of players that are on the season-ending spectrum of the injury report.
Yeah,
so
I think we're at our most vulnerable right now. I would absolutely say this season, which I mean, it does kind of put us into what we were like last year when we couldn't really rely on the defense as much. So, we have had experience, and I think this team kind of, if they can pull this off, I feel like they have the onions, like that. You know what I mean? Like they have been preaching grit this whole time. They've been really locked in this season. So if they were able to do this, it'd be very hard for me to be like, there's no way we're destined this year. There's no way.
Yeah, I mean, they have a greater than 99% chance of making the playoffs, regardless of what happens. But certainly, it's a big question of, does the road to the Super Bowl go through Ford Field and the Detroit Lions, or do they have to go potentially to one of those spooky matchups and get paired with either maybe the Seattle Seahawks or whoever does eventually win the NFC South? So, I mean, if it's Tampa Bay, I definitely feel that's a much spookier outcome than if we're having to go play if we're having to play the Falcons. I think the Falcons are a team we could handle sort of regardless, but it certainly becomes a very interesting conversation here if the Lions and it's weird, right? You would think that having a 10-game winning streak would pretty much set you up for a pretty clean run to the playoffs and the number 1 seed, but it just isn't the case here for the Lions. Despite them having one of their best seasons ever, nothing is being given to them, and they're unfortunately being asked to do a very tough task here and retool this defense and sort of adapt and survive. And then, as you mentioned, Jeffrey, the offense is being asked to kind of carry this team now moving forward.
Yeah, and we also can't forget we got the 2 best safeties out there. So, there is going to be some.
Our secondary is outside of Enos Rakestraw, who I know got added to IR. The secondary is the healthiest part of that defense.
Yeah, it puts a lot of pressure on them for sure. So,
yeah,
it's it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a lot of points being scored, actually.
Yeah, I do know. I was watching some analysis of the game, and a guy mentioned that the Packers are a team that has a lot of success one on one when it comes to their passing game, like one on one. But thankfully, Romeo Dobbs is going to be out of this game, but he actually leads the NFL in success against one on one matchups. But number two is Christian Watson, who is also a Packers receiver. And then, of course, Jalen Reed has been having some success for them as well in the slot. So, and the Lions are a team that struggles in that 1v1 matchup, going head to head there with the DB straight up on the receiver. So the fact that it's a strength for the Packers and a weakness for the Lions, a little bit concerning there, Jeffrey. And again, I think the running game too. The Lions, ever since that Carolina Panthers game a few years ago, where they ran a train through our defense and just put up big yardage on the ground, like they have made it a point of emphasis to be one of the better rushing defenses. And I think just because we don't have the bodies, this could be a rough game because you have a team. The Packers also use a gap blocking scheme a lot when they're running the ball. And that is something the Lions have struggled with, even with their starters in. So now you have all these backups coming in. They have to play against an offensive scheme that has found success against the Lions with a running back who's got a hot hand. He is banged up. He did show up on the injury report, but at the same time, could be a game for him to feast there. So it's going to be a challenging game. And then, of course, the simple fact they are a big rival, Jeffrey. These rivalry games certainly amp it up to about an 11. So
can we get for like 4 days in a row of football brawls like we've had this week?
Maybe they'll come and plant a cheese head in the middle of Ford Field if they get a victory. Just start it up there. I don't know. Jeffrey, the only concern for me on the offensive side of the ball is Taylor Decker also being out. They did just fine last week with him out, but certainly feel better with them in than I do with them on, not playing in the game. But that is a potential area.
Caliber of pass rush is much better than last week. So,
yeah. All right, Jeffrey. A roaring or boring here question for you related to this evening's game. Do you think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be in the doghouse at all this week? He had the social media post in front of the whiteboard that had some of the play calls on there, and that was brought to Dan Campbell's attention. He said he'd take care of that. Ben Johnson, I saw something from him saying that he wasn't concerned about it. He said other teams can know about it. They still can't stop us. Where do you think it's going to land here, Jeffrey? Do you think you think he will be at all in the doghouse in this game, or do you think the Lions will be able to rely on him and David Montgomery to kind of control this game?
No, at this point, our offense is pretty good. Our scheme is good. We utilize the players so well, and I think the key part here is that we execute very well too. I don't think that showing a few words is going to do that. I guess going to have a negative effect, really. And I believe Dan Campbell, and he's like, yeah, just give him the whole playbook. You know that we're going to be running a lateral at some point. You know that we're going to be possibly putting Penei Sewell out there to throw a touchdown pass. There's just so many ways we attack the game that I don't think it matters.
Did you see Penei Sewell warming up at QB earlier this week at practice with Jared Goff?
I would not be surprised. or that could just be a smokescreen. Maybe they're going to get another lineman or somebody else. Like, they're always able to have a wrinkle every week, and it's been really fun to be one of the more innovative offenses. It makes watching Lions football that much better when we get to see a show also.
Absolutely. And then I know we've talked a little bit about the potential for the upcoming coaching changes next season, Jeffrey. And the Lions potentially needing to replace both an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator. But I heard an interesting take from Colin Cowherd earlier this week. He was saying that he felt Ben Johnson is a very talented offensive coordinator, but not cut out for the head coaching position. What are your thoughts there? Do you find that a roaring or boring take?
I would just have to say boring. So it's that is often the case that a lot of guys who get called up for the head coaching position are they end up being, well,
Mhm.
in hindsight, they're probably a better, more coordinator, less responsibilities, focusing on the thing that they're strength at.
Jim
So
Schwartz, he
yeah,
struggled as the head coach for the Lions, but he has definitely since then has had a couple of really good stops as a defensive coordinator.
I like the Jim Schwartz era. At least like we weren't like sad and pathetic. We were spicy and getting
The
some
handshake
altercations.
heard around the
Yeah,
world.
yeah. But yeah, I boring to me.
My dad's calling it a snoozer there. I guess that means he thinks Ben Johnson will be an excellent head coach. I don't know. Confused.
Hmm.
Confused there. Is that him showing Lions love or is he just Lions hating there? Unsure. I'm sure
Unsure.
he will clarify for us in the
Probably
chat
it
there.
probably whichever one gives him the worst take possible. That's the one he went with.
Well, I like that. I like it, Jeffrey. Taking a look outside of this Lions game, I think, we mentioned, Jeffrey, this playoff picture can get spicy in a hurry.
Hmm.
So for this roaring or boring question, it's really just a pick from these options. Which one do you think is the biggest threat here? But of the other contenders in the NFC, which one is the biggest competition to the Lions? Do you think it's Philadelphia? Is it Minnesota? Is it the Packers? Or do you want to take the field and go with the other potential playoff teams there?
No,
Which one?
I think at this very moment it is the Packers. Very
Oh,
moment is the Packers. Of their last 8 games, they're 7-1. Only losses to us. So, to me, if they get to that 10-win mark and they knock us down to that 2-loss category, that absolutely just like I don't know, just hammers this entire conference open. So that has implications for us even outside of at the Packers as an opponent, getting past the division kind of thing. So I think right now, like the biggest hurdle here is Green Bay. Can we pull something off here? And then after that, I'll give a twofer. Uh, um, After that, I would say that it would be Philadelphia. They are not injury ridden. Their defense is very spicy. Their offense is absolutely humming with Saquon Barkley just having an MVP type of season.
crazy season.
That scares me quite a bit.
Did you see the stat about the top rushers in the NFL? Saquon is leading. Derrick Henry is second. Third, I forget who third is, but guess who fourth is in the league?
Who?
It is Saquon Barkley with second half rushing yards. He has more second half rushing yards just in the second half of the season than Jahmyr Gibbs, who is the actual fourth place rusher, has on the season. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, yeah. It's the Giants are every yard he produces is just another nail
in the GM's coffin
yeah.
there. Yeah. I especially like how they caught with was that Hard Knocks or whatever. The owner saying, "Are you really sure about letting Saquon go? He's definitely one of the most popular players." So you already know that the owner was already second guessing the decision back in the day. So yeah. And thank you, Dad. Josh Jacobs is the third place rusher currently on the season, who we'll
Okay.
see tonight. So that adds to the concern there with
Yeah.
what he'll be able to do. But it
Yeah,
is
just this
also
game alone, we've got 3 of the top running backs in the NFL, just like in general, with Monty and Gibbs and Josh Jacobs out there. So,
could be a running spectacular out there.
yeah,
Just good old ground and pound on the Thursday night football.
yeah.
I'm sure
With Al Michaels.
Al Michaels will love to take
Yeah.
him back.
Oh yeah. Well, I think Al Michaels will be in for a show, though. I think it's going to be a pretty entertaining game. I think one of the keys to our victory is being opportunistic about turnovers. I know Brian Branch is a missile. Kirby Joseph is. I feel like he could have gotten 2 picks last game that kind of eluded him a bit. But I think that would be kind of one of our only ways into kind of pulling this off tonight.
Yeah, there has been 2 weeks since we've had any interceptions, so getting some positive some positive takeaways can certainly help out. I think another big key for us, Jeffrey, the last couple of weeks against teams of lesser caliber, we've had to settle for field goals instead of touchdowns. And I think we can't, if we're going to beat the Packers, they are definitely a team of the caliber where we need touchdowns. 3 points isn't going to cut it. 3 points isn't going to ultimately get them the win. If they do want to secure a win here tonight at Ford Field, it's going to be about their ability to score touchdowns and not field goals on drives.
Yeah, absolutely. Last week, what really put us in that pickle with the Bears was when we fumbled in the end zone with Jahmyr Gibbs. Very rare of him to fumble, but he fumbled in the NFC Championship game too, right in the red zone. That kind of killed a lot of momentum in that game. So we had to play a very clean game on our side.
And great point there with the turnovers, and it also I think extends to penalties too, because this is definitely a game again. Heated rivalry between the Packers and the Lions. Definitely no love lost between these two teams, but you have to keep those emotions in check.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to be taking any stupid penalties. It almost cost us against the Bears. And so the Packers are a much better team than what we saw in Chicago.
No throwing the ball at someone's face. They're not looking.
We can't be giving away, stalling out drives with stupid penalties.
Was it Xavier McKinney who pushed one of our trainers last year?
It was. Yep. And that, I mean, it's a perfect example of how just dumb stuff can just change the outcome of games. So gotta be taking care of the ball and have to keep our heads firmly on our shoulders there and not do anything silly, because this is a tough opponent. It's not going to be easy. This is definitely, Jeffrey, we've sort of thrived in Pick'em this year when it comes to the Lions games, because we've been able to pick the Lions. And so I'm 11-1. You deviated once. You're 10-2. But really, it's been a pretty sure thing. This week definitely doesn't feel like a sure thing.
I felt super confident all year, pretty much. It's I almost want to know what you're going to go with to make my decision based on the competition aspect of it.
We'll come back to it here in a little bit, but I will be honest. I am still at this moment. It's still in flight. It's not. I don't have a lock in yet. So
I have a tentative lock here, but I'm also kind of flipping.
Yeah, I'm trying to make sure I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid too hard. Part of me thinks, until kind of like with the Chiefs, right? Until somebody comes out and beats them, I think they are the best team in football. So similar for the Lions, like until the Packers come out and actually beat them, part of me wants to say, let's go Lions. But the other part of me recognizes the injuries on defense are certainly they're substantial. So it's going to be, as you mentioned, a pretty big emphasis here for this Lions offense to carry them, because the defense is certainly hurting. He's a Kool-Aid drinker. He's going to take the Lions. Don't let them get to Jeffrey.
Okay, who's getting to me? Do I need to lock my doors and windows?
Hide your kids, hide your wife. Packers are coming out here. But then, Jeffrey, if we turn our attention here outside of the Packers-Lions, who, of course, are kicking off this Week 14, and we take a look at the other games here on the schedule, there's some good matchups here. I think the Eagles get kind of, unfortunately, both the Eagles and the Vikings, our two closest competition, they seem like they get some kind of layups this week. The Eagles have the Panthers at home, and the Vikings have the Falcons at home. So the likelihood of us getting any breathing room from them is pretty low. Because you live in Kool-Aid.
Your dad is painting a picture.
9 yards.
He's painting a picture.
Son. Oh my!
I don't know what to feel about this image. I like it.
In it, bathing in it,
like
just loving that Lions Kool-Aid. I guess so.
Yeah, it's there's no let up with the top of the NFC here. Like it's we're pretty top heavy, I'd say, like mostly NFC teams, and then the Eagles. But it's going to be a race the entire season.
And then on the AFC side of things, Jeffrey, I think one of the matchups that I'm the most excited for is Sunday Night Football. We have the Chargers and the Chiefs squaring off, and of course the Chiefs firmly in first place in the AFC West, but the Chargers, they're having a resurgence, 8-4. The Jim Harbaugh era is off to a great start, so it'll be interesting to see. The game is at Arrowhead,
Yeah,
so I
especially with
think
Baltimore free falling, going down to 8-5.
yeah, Baltimore is in a weird spot there. But if as we so we've now shifted our attention here to the larger Week 14. So a couple other roaring or boring questions for you here, Jeffrey. Do you roaring or boring here? The first one is the Baltimore Ravens record going to sabotage Lamar Jackson's MVP chances?
I would say so, because I think Josh Allen is kind of a front runner right now, and his team's 10-2 and has clinched the division in like the first week of December here. So I think there's a lot riding on what Lamar can do here in these last few weeks, and can he continue to kind of. Well, I mean, just not even continue, because he's not been playing well. So I absolutely think it is, and I think they might lose some more games.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. Helping them out is the fact the Steelers are playing the Browns, and the Browns seem to rain on everyone's parade. So, helping them keep pace, that might help them keep pace with the Steelers, who are currently sitting in first place. But it has been a bad couple of weeks for the Ravens, and the whole Deontay Johnson thing with him now being suspended for a
Oh
game.
yeah, I saw that for actions detrimental to the team. I think
it seemed like he was going to be a veteran receiver that got moved from a crappy situation in Carolina to having okay, it's Christmas early because you've gone from Carolina to the Ravens, and it hasn't worked out at all for him there so far in Baltimore, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I'm worried that's what's going to happen with Jamal Adams here just on the short term, because that'd have been an exciting pickup maybe like 6 years ago. Now it's like we're putting just a warm body out there.
I mean, I feel like, and again, maybe it's me bathing, drinking, soaking in that Kool-Aid, but I will say I do feel like if there's any coaching staff that can make the most out of Jamal Adams at this point in his career, get the most out of him, get the last of that juice with a squeeze, I think it'll be Dan Campbell and Aaron Glenn. I think they will put him in positions where they can take advantage of his skill set and kind of hide his bad stuff. He was an ex-Steeler, so anyone should now realize that if the Steelers ready to let their people go, don't take them because they suck. They got problems.
Yeah,
Deontay Johnson.
Mike Tomlin really knows how to keep.
He does have a pretty good bullshit meter there.
Yeah.
Him and the Green Bay Packers. The Packers know when it's time to put a quarterback out to pasture. Mike Tomlin knows when it's time to let a skill position player walk away from the organization. They have an uncanny ability.
And we see George Pickens play every week and do things.
Yeah, but he hasn't got rid of George Pickens yet, so he hasn't reached that level just yet. He's still trending positively there, I guess. But then Jeffrey, another roaring or boring question for you here. Of course, I mentioned until they're beaten, I think the Chiefs should be considered a favorite here. But do you think, roaring or boring, will you take the Chiefs or the field to make it to the Super Bowl for the AFC?
Oh, man, I keep thinking the Chiefs are going to lose on a week-to-week basis, and they somehow keep doing it. I think at some point they've been having a lot of good bounces, and I'm not talking about on the field, right? Where these outcomes are very, very close in many cases. I think at some point they're just going to hit the competition, that being in the playoffs, right? Where we're talking about some very good teams like the Steelers, Buffalo, definitely. The Chargers are resurging, and they got to play them. So I'm taking the field. Long story short,
I'm
going with the field. To me, there's no way. There's no way
it just doesn't seem possible. They
just,
haven't been playing that good.
yeah.
I mean,
At least
as a team, they've been playing better, but it just hasn't seemed like they haven't been as explosive or as dominant in their victories as they have been in the past. So it's almost like us, right? It's like with all our injuries, at some point there has to be a drop off, and like at
yeah,
some point they just have to lose a game,
yeah,
right? Somebody has to come out here and just dominate them for once.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I feel it.
Although Isaiah Pacheco is back,
Mm.
he does a lot for them. You know, when he's rolling, when they kind of went away from more of their kind of deep passing offense back in the years where they had Tyreek Hill and a lot of speed out there, like they've gotten really to more of like a power run kind of thing going on as far as scheme wise, and it works out with Pacheco. He thrives in that kind of run. That kind of run offense. So we I wouldn't be surprised if we all of a sudden now just see them rolling because they're like, oh, we got our main dude back. kind of thing.
Yeah, but
They've
they
got
have their own
magic.
two-headed
Voodoo.
monster there with Pachenko and Kareem Hunt. Oh yeah, that's another great roaring or boring question for you, Jeffrey. Do you think Justin Tucker has just hit that wall and has fallen off, or is it the voodoo of messing with Travis Kelce and the Taylor Swift juju being passed on to him that has caused this downward spiral of his kicking?
I got I got to go with he hit a wall. I think he especially with kicking like and I guess I did a little bit of I forgot which news source put out this article, but they kind of talked to his personal coaching staff on the team as far as his kicking staff, and they were talking about like what technique he uses, and it's kind of different than a lot of what other kickers do. And in the kicking game, like angles matter as far as where you're hitting, right? Like you need to get enough of the ball, you need to hit it in the right spot, you need to make it curve when you need to, right? If you're not just in the middle. So even a couple degrees off, his coach was saying, is going to throw off the kick a lot, especially with his style of kicking. He apparently puts his plant foot a lot closer to the ball than a lot of other kickers, and he's just thinking that like with him getting older, his body's just not doing the things as fast or at the same way, and it's affecting him quite a bit. And to me, when it's such a technical game, kicking, I think, I think with like his, like he either has to adapt to his older kind of body and his older reflexes here, or I don't know if he can, because he's been at it for weeks and he's costing them games. So it was an interesting article.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of calls to Old Yeller him, and specifically, I don't think I've ever seen any people call for it being specifically Old Yellering him more than I've seen here recently with Justin Tucker. So it's rough.
When legends, I mean, he's a kicking legend for sure. I mean, as far as like one of the best kickers in the NFL of all time, but he didn't go out on top like Tom Brady did. He didn't go out on top like Peyton Manning did, right? It's just kind of like you're seeing it in real time, and it sucks.
He's not doing it with quite the personal flair that Aaron Rodgers is doing it, but it seems similar there where, they were on the top and now they're not on the top anymore. And it was a quick and rapid descent.
Well, I mean, yeah, just he should just spend Wednesday instead of practice, just go to a darkness retreat for 24 hours and come back, and maybe his feet will just do the thing again.
He has to realign his chakras and get the right vibe going, and he'll be good to go, man. Probably
unlock those.
Do some psychedelics, just unlock his third eye. It'd be good stuff, man. Good stuff. The Toilet's Pride will finally catch up with them tonight. Ooh. Welcome to the stream there, Rob Rasher-Schilling. So he's definitely going. He definitely knows this. No discrepancy there. Rob is definitely going with I assume the Packers victory there over the Lions.
I'm strongly considering it because we're depleted, and they're catching us at like the most vulnerable.
Yeah, it's that perfect storm of circumstance and situation that could be bad for the Lions here. But Jeffrey, before we get to our pick'em for this Thursday night football game, it is time to do our locks of the week, and we've been doing better here. I think we're both on three games successfully chosen. We're starting to pad those stats now. You're up to 7-4. I'm hitting in at 9-3, so we're doing good, doing good.
Yeah, and I've had one less pick than you, so I don't think I can. I don't think I can catch up unless there is an extra pick I can make. Maybe I do two 1 week. I don't know. Try to
Do
double
two,
back.
try and double it back
Try to
up.
get it back. Go for two. Go for two 1 week.
All that matters is we get these spicy locks in. So
Yes.
who's your lock for this week, Jeffrey?
My lock for this week, there is a game with an another NFC North rival, Minnesota, Atlanta coming into town there. The line last time we checked was 5.5, swinging Minnesota's way. I think that Minnesota wins outright here. They keep making things difficult for us at the top of the NFC and at the top of the division, that we have to be forced to kind of keep our foot on the gas. And I don't think it's going to get any easier for us. And Atlanta's coming in. They're struggling. Kirk Cousins threw some horrendous picks last week, and he's just not looking the same as he was before the Achilles injury. So I think the calls for getting some Penix energy out there are going to get louder, and I think Minnesota wins and keeps our foot on the gas for that top of the NFC.
You don't think Captain Kirk goes in there, yells "Con" and gets a revenge victory here against the Vikings?
Revenge game aspect is a little spicy. It is a little spicy, but I think Minnesota is just overall a better team.
I mean, they definitely have been on the seasons. The records certainly support that 10-2 versus 6-6. Jeffrey, do you think? What are your thoughts about Kirk Cousins? Do you think he returns as the starting QB for the Falcons in 2025, or do you think they look to move him to another team?
Yeah, I know. If you can get some value for him, I mean, why not? It's you've got Penix. Kirk Cousins has not looked good, and I think it really depends on how well he plays out the rest of the season. If he kind of rights the ship and is way more consistent, I could see them rolling with it again. But I think it's some value out of him. Why not?
Yes, they have to find the right trade partner because he does have a considerable contract, but I do think the fact that the play hasn't quite been at the level that they were hoping for, I think makes this a lot easier for Atlanta, especially because of the fact that Penix, even though he is a rookie quarterback, he is an older rookie quarterback than the typical ones that are coming out there. So he is likely, I think they're going to want to try and get value out of his rookie contract. The fact that he is an older, more mature quarterback as well, I think will help, just kind of helps feed into that. So between Kirk Cousins' play, all the factors around Penix, I think we're probably looking at a Cousins Falcons split this offseason, unless they somehow just go on a run and
I mean,
bring home a Super Bowl.
I think what's keeping a lot of that together is the fact that they are at 6-6, the top of their division. I mean, I could see teams, this happens quite a bit where, they end off strong, maybe get a win in the playoff or something that like excites and tantalizes the GM and the ownership. And they're like, we can do this kind of thing. I mean, it happened with New York. Danny Dimes got that one playoff win, and they're like, let's lock this guy in.
Like Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance. Yeah. Man. They're just like, oh, yeah.
I think sometimes some of the end of season performance matters as far as for these middling teams on whether they kind of what direction they go.
Well, it's funny you should mention middling teams, Jeffrey, because for my lock of the week, the Monday Night Football matchup this week is between the 4-8 Bengals and the 5-7 Dallas Cowboys, two middling teams. The Bengals are 5.5-point favorites in this game, according to BetMGM. So, even though Dallas has won their last two games and Cincinnati has struggled, especially on defense, I am, a Cowboys hater, and I just don't believe in the team that Jerry Jones is putting out there. So I think the Bengals can cover that 5.5 on Monday Night Football down in Dallas and sort of rain on Jerry's parade a little bit here. And we'll have to see if he's still as high on Mike McCarthy at the end of this game as he has been here in recent weeks.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think as far as middling, the only thing that's not middling is Joe Burrow's performances out there on a week-to-week basis. I mean, like it's wild how much the defense has let them down, and what the record would be like had they won a lot of these single score games here. But yeah, I also am a Dallas hater, and I agree with you. I do not believe in what Jarrah's put out there. So I see it. I think Cincinnati would win.
Well, in fairness too, we have to mention, we talked a lot about Justin Tucker. Evan McPherson has also not been very good at. He's missed some kicks that have cost Cincinnati some games too. So defense has been an issue. Evan McPherson's been an issue. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, they've been looking good. But yeah, this Bengals team here, and my dad coming in with the no, son, Dallas sucks, but that ain't gonna happen. He doesn't like the Bengals in Monday night against the Cowboys, but it's Cooper Rush at QB for the Cowboys. Just like our defense just can't keep going on. Cooper Rush can't go 3-0 as a starting QB.
Didn't he almost throw for like 500 yards the other week?
Yeah, but he was playing against the Giants, so I mean,
the
Giants.
How bad is the Giants' defense versus Cincinnati's defense? I'd argue they're pretty similar, at least.
Yeah, but then the Giants' offense is also awful, so like they're giving the ball back.
Gotcha.
So like I feel like at least by like the time of possession battle, Cincinnati will help keep the ball out of Dallas's hands, which is by proxy, probably their best defensive attribute is their offense holding on to the ball. It'd be nice if they had a running game because that would help them do a better job of doing that, which incidentally, I think is a way that the Lions can be successful in this game against the Packers is just by keeping that Packers offense on the sidelines and letting Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery tear it up. But Cincinnati definitely don't have those two guys sharing the backfield together. So they have not they can't. Yeah, they don't have that type of weaponry.
They remember when they traded for Khalil Herbert like at the trade deadline.
Yep.
We're still not having a great run game.
Yeah, Chase Brown is still back there. Yeah, Chase Brown's still back there, just looking kind of pedestrian. They let Joe Mixon went to the Texans. They just they didn't partake in the running back roulette that happened this off season or musical chairs. So they certainly has been hurting them a little bit here. But I think I like Cincinnati in this one, despite my father's protest there. Although, he does claim Evan McPherson is now on IR. So I guess you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about a missing kick. I mean, that's what some people wanted for Justin Tucker too, was him to fake an injury and bow out gracefully. So
my leg, coach, I can't go.
Maybe that's what Evan McPherson did. He was just like, sorry, I tore a hamstring. We're gonna have to shut this down for the season. Yeah. All right, Jeffrey, we've delayed it for long enough. We're here at the last part of the show. It's time to lock in our picks for tonight's Thursday night football game. Who do you want? Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first? How do you want to play this bad boy?
I mean, how about we say 1, 2, 3, and we just say who it is,
and just say it at the same time. Yeah. All right. I like that. Right. So 1, 2, 3. Detroit.
Green Bay.
Oh my!
I'm going with Green Bay tonight. I think the streak ends. I'm not saying it ruins our chances for some Super Bowl or anything like that, for playoff run or anything like that. But we are very vulnerable right now, and I could see us just not having the horses in the game to be able to play how we played. So I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a shootout, but I could see us going down here at home. Not super, 100% on it, but I also, strategy-wise, I feel like it's a good move to make to hedge my bet here a little bit. And I was hoping you went with Detroit so we could kind of – I can make some ground here.
For some movement?
Yeah.
It's a risk and reward. Of course, you could move up or you could move down here with this pick. So we'll see. And does it change your mind at all that my dad has gone with cheese by 13?
No,
His,
no,
it doesn't sway
it
you at all.
doesn't sway the needle at all. No.
Okay, all right. Just letting you process the new information that's come in here, because his picks so far on the season have not been.
No, he's taken our opponent every game. So no, his takes do not move my needle.
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid and bathing in it, and he
Yes.
is having himself a full-on enema of haterade right there. All right. Well, so you're going Green Bay. I'm locking in Detroit here for this one. It's regardless going to be, I think, a very
I think so.
Should be a pretty fun game, and I do think you mentioned there that it could be a bit of a shootout. So I think defense may at some point just get tossed by the wayside, and these two offenses just try and go blow for blow, and could be don't get me wrong, I like to see a good defensive battle, but certainly I think those games where you do have offenses just trading blows back and forth, and more like a Madden game can be interesting every once in a while there, Jeffrey.
I mean, that Browns game on where Jameis threw that
almost 500 yards, 295 to Jerry Jeudy.
There, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks. I mean, that was pretty entertaining. There were there's some long plays, maybe not to the right teams, but it was fun watching them run around.
He was scoring a touchdown. It was either going to it was either going to be for his team or it was going to be for the other team, but somebody was scoring when he was dropping back there. Careful, don't stay shootout in Detroit. People will get nervous. Okay. Wait. Well, we want to thank everybody for tuning in here on this Thursday Night Football before the kickoff here today. Whether you're watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitch, we definitely appreciate you stopping in here for the live stream. And then if you do want to catch this episode and any of our past recordings, they are available on YouTube as well as in podcast format on Spotify. So I know Spotify just did their 2024 Wrapped. So I don't think we were in anyone's top play podcast quite yet.
We get alerted if we have someone who's in the top 0.5% or something like that.
I will have to go check and see what sort of things we have there in the background, because I'm not sure, but it would definitely it'd be cool, but I don't think we've quite reached there yet. But if you do enjoy the show and want to help the channel grow, the best way you can do that is by supporting us with likes and follows on whatever your platform of choice is. We are making a push on YouTube to reach 100 subscribers, and let me see where we're at the moment. We'll do it live, see where we're at. The last time I checked, we were at we're still there, 67. So if you do want to help us continue to grow our subscriber count there, again, we have that goal of reaching 100 before the end of the season. Please stop on over to YouTube and feel free to give us a subscribe there. And of course, you can also ring the bell if you want to be kept up to date when we're going live with shows. Typically, our normal cadence is we do Tuesday evenings at 6:30, and usually, because most of the Lions games are on Sundays, we do Sundays at 11 a.m. But of course, this week, Jeffrey, we had a special Thursday night football showing. Of course, back-to-back weeks, because last week was the Thanksgiving game. So a little bit of an alt schedule with the mixing around there of when the Lions are actually playing. But good stuff. And we definitely, of course, appreciate all the support and everyone stopping in. So thank you, everyone.
Everybody, appreciate it. Does it make me an old man that I wish these Thursday night games started at 7:30 or something like that? Wrap this up before midnight, everybody. Let's
well, I mean, as long as you're not like Al Michaels talking about how everyone's going to be getting breakfasts because it's so late in the day, or that as long as you're not going that far, I think you're good.
Yeah,
you're good. All right, everyone. Well, Jeffrey, I know you picked the Packers in this one, but we do like to finish our pre-game episodes with a Go Lions. So even though I know you've made a choice, and I get it, it's a calculated decision.
The
Not
calculus.
only is it
It
strategic
doesn't
for
hurt me any
Pick'em,
less. It doesn't hurt me any less. But
it's strategic for Pick'em, and honestly, there are plenty of reasons, as we've discussed, to be worried about the outcome of this game. Like we've said, I think other games this season it's kind of been easy to go with the Lions, but this is the first week where it's been really, really difficult to look at it and like feel really good about picking them for a win. So we'll have to see what the outcome is here. But yeah, unless there's anything else you got, Jeffrey, tis the times.
Go Lions.
All right, go Lions. Everyone have a wonderful night, and we will see you on Tuesday as we recap the outcome here from week 14, and hopefully we can celebrate a Lions victory and me distancing myself from Jeffrey and Pick'em. Woo!
And hopefully
right.
it'll prove me wrong.
Thanks, everybody, and we'll catch you later. Bye-bye.